Hello everyone and welcome to a new video in our capsule of personal development. In today's video we're going to be talking about honesty of oneself. How to be honest with oneself and how you could apply it in your daily life actually, and in many aspects in your life. A lot of people might have misconceptions about what it means, but with a lot of experiences for me, it basically started meaning to have the courage to literally discuss, and it doesn't have to be with anyone, but literally with yourself. It's just basically self-reflecting, to discuss with yourself what you might not have been very great in your life, or maybe the things that you feel like you wanted to change. To be able to set your priorities straight. That's also being honest to yourself, because if you literally get a set of values, things like do I want to be more kind or do I want to be more smart? People always did it in tests like that, and yeah, this is one of them. It's also things like the simple things like, do I like the smell of this soap, or no, should I get it or not? Regardless of like looking at the other details, like about maybe can I afford it, is it too expensive, and so on. Like regardless of these type of things. Also same things with outfits, like I like this jacket and so on. And right, I mean, people will think, but the most practical way of it is doing that. Well, if you start being honest with yourself, you'll be able to do exactly what represents you. So let's start with a pretty simple example, and I liked giving it because it resonated a lot with me, and I actually applied it in this way. It was managing my time. I think for me, one of the things that I struggled a lot with was managing time and procrastinating. And I had to genuinely be honest with myself at that time, because as I sometimes actually say about it, it was a bit of a hectic time for me, and I didn't want to increase the nervousness and the negative emotions, and I just wanted to help myself in actually surpassing that time. So how did I apply it? It was really simple. It was things like, I know I have this thing to do, so I'll study it. But I used to start early on. It was like I knew that maybe this teacher was gonna give us maybe this homework and so on, and I would maybe study the subject before, especially if like, we were gonna have a pop quiz or so on. And even I was being even more honest, was like, I don't understand this thing, so I'm gonna work on this thing, even if it takes me some time. That's the thing, a lot of things takes us time. We had to be honest about that with ourselves, is that yes, this thing is gonna take time because I'm trying to be better at it, and so on. And yes, what does it mean to be setting your priorities straight? You're literally like telling yourself, I'm not gonna procrastinate. I mean, usually the reasons aren't always the very honest reasons, but sometimes when you're using the honest reasons, yeah, it's like, I really want to do my best because like I really wanna get into one of the best universities. Like that could be one of your goals. It doesn't have to be like, and it is an honest one. Like if this was what you really wanted, if this was what you felt, then go for it. And really, for me, being honest with yourself, really genuinely, when I said how you could implement it, you literally just have to start in like the small things. Like, do I like this chocolate? Like, it's really simple. Do I like it? What if you don't like it? Like, what if you... That's the problem with the comfort zone. You might have been used to it, and you're telling yourself, yeah, I like it. No, you're used to it. You don't like it. Like, you have... Well, maybe you'll like it, but what about it, like... the fact that maybe you're only used to it and not liking it. Like maybe you're confused about it, because sometimes when you're being honest with yourself, you're like, oh man, I don't know myself, I no longer know what I like. No, I mean, well, if it's something relatively new to you and you really don't know. Like maybe your whole life, I don't know, you lived in a hot place and all of a sudden you're shopping for clothes for, winter clothes. And like you have to think about maybe the boots, the pants, the coat, the sweater, maybe if you want to have sweatshirts, you want to have things like that. And you're like thinking in your head, like, do I like this? Is this comfortable? And obviously you don't have any prior maybe experience to it if you were living in an all-time hot place. And so maybe you're looking at it from a perspective of like, oh, the color is nice, and the material seems heavy and so on, feels like it's thermal and so on, I'll try it. So but if it's on things that maybe you were doing on like, if you were doing it on things that were more or less things that you normally did, because one of the things is like you were maybe used in lunch maybe getting like, I don't know, a salad and a sandwich maybe, and that's the thing. Then after a while you start having these thoughts like, oh, I'm maybe even you're changing maybe the sandwich content, like it's maybe not always a chicken sandwich, or maybe not always an egg sandwich, I don't know. You're changing the content of it, but maybe you're just always getting it with a salad and you're eating it at the same time. I mean, if you're working, yes, you're probably eating it at the same. What about just, I don't know, maybe thinking to yourself, do I really like it? Like, because when we get used to so many things, it was like we don't become mindful of what we really like. And because sometimes society's confirmation to things, sometimes we're not honest with ourselves with what we want, because we know this might cause clashes with people that we still want in our life and we still care about, so we don't want that. But being honest with yourself didn't always have to start with the harder things. It could just start with the smaller things. It could just, because each one of us has their own path. Even if we're almost think that we're taking the same path, it's like every choice you make is making a difference. Like, this is why I was asking like the simple things, like what chocolate you like, what literally, like what do you like eating more. Sometimes these questions might actually start being hard when you try to be honest with yourself. You're like, oh, I don't know, like what? And sometimes you're just like, one of the things that I would give advice on would be like, try it. Try this thing and try this thing, and then actually see what you liked more, what you enjoyed more. If we're looking at it, maybe being honest with yourself in studies, in career wise, it might be a bit harder, but because maybe you might not like it and to start with. But I might give it as another example with with the subjects. This subject is hard, you might take more time, or this project might take more time, this task might take more time. And I'm being honest with myself that I'm not gonna procrastinate, because I know what my priorities lie. Maybe your priorities lie in comfort first, and then that's not a bad thing. It's actually, if you knew this, it would save you a lot of trouble, because in the end, this about yourself. Being honest with yourself is also acknowledging what's not very good about you. It doesn't mean that you want to change it. Sometimes when you don't want to change, that's why people always tell you, like, if you want to change, like really want to change, then you're taking the steps. But if you're just saying it and so on, but you're like almost brushing it off, like I don't want to, then no. Like that's not how it's supposed to be. And so being honest with yourself, it's really just a start to the bigger part of life, really. Like, and it basically means that you're trying to see yourself in a different light. Really, like, you're choosing for yourself different things. Maybe you're choosing different things, but maybe you're just being honest with yourself. And sometimes what I mean by being honest, I mean like you have to sometimes throw what you've been used to. Not throw isn't throw, but like just act like no, I'm not looking at it from the lens of because I'm used to this, then I'm being biased to this option or to this like choice. No, but actually really choosing. I mean, a lot of times this is really one of the biggest problems, is our indecisiveness. Like, we take in our minds sometimes, you know, other people. If the choice that we're taking does involve other people, it would actually be better to maybe discuss with them and ask them and so on. But if this choice just solely involves you, then you should be the person making this choice completely and completely being honest with this choice. So what? Like I know some people might be forced because of certain certain things, that's why that's forcing them. But when you start to make choices really without listening, like maybe take a choice without really asking for consulting anyone, and just make that choice and just really be honest. Sometimes we tell ourselves like, oh, they're almost the same. Are you sure they're almost the same? Like, no, there might be something that caught your eye in this choice and you wanted to try it, but it seemed too daring, or it seemed like it wasn't in the way that you wanted it. But so what? like why not open up better choices? Why not open up newer paths? Like, being honest with yourself does that. Like, if you do it once in a while and like in a shorter interval times, that would be better, because you're looking at it from the point of like, I chose this, and this is really like, you know, you went into an internship and you're writing a report about it. It's the same thing. It's like, I chose this, and like I've seen the results, and like, was it how I, like, what was my emotions about it? How did I feel about it? What happened? What was going on? And so on. And like, when you review it and you think about it, you're like, oh, maybe the other time I would do this choice, I might go with this choice. Truthfully, being honest with yourself slowly really leads you to having instinct, your gut instinct, that gut feeling that just points you out into certain thing. Why does that? Because you're being like, you're putting, as if you're telling the universe, I'm putting trust in my gut instinct more and more. Sometimes you're gonna be like, wait, just being honest to yourself. Yes, because technically, if you're removing all distractions, you're removing all things that lie in your path to being honest to yourself, and you're just choosing not even based on something that's like physical, but it's just like things like, I like it, I wanted to try it, something like that. And usually that would be, and even you start feeling excited about it, even though it's like almost an unconventional choice, you're usually, that's like your instinct basically. And because a lot of times our instincts has the lowest voice, our brains are just completely dominating our thought pattern, we really miss it. And it's like, oh, it's that simple. It's like, this is why I would say, no, honesty with yourself is consecutive, meaning in every choice in your life, in every aspect in your life, in everything that you're doing, you're being honest with yourself, no matter how big or small it is. You start seeing the difference. Like, you start realizing when your instinct is like nudging you a bit to like maybe look at another option or maybe search about something, you start realizing, yes, this is actually where I want it to be. Yes, this is where, you know, this is maybe where I should be, or this is maybe even the better option for me. And yeah, it's that simple. But the start of it is usually being really genuinely honest with yourself completely, disregarding any distraction. And like as I said, if it really is not about anyone else but completely you, like this choice is completely yours, it has nothing to do with anyone. Like take that choice without really thinking what other people are gonna think about it. Like, so what, they're gonna always think about you, and like they might not be very happy with your choices, but you're not gonna go far if all you keep thinking about is like what people are gonna say. Oh god, they're gonna be saying everything, and they're gonna be saying everything that you don't want to hear. So completely disregard it and do what genuinely makes you happy, what genuinely sparks joy, what genuinely feels right. Because when you start doing that, this is why I was saying your instinct is just being formed. Well, it's not being formed, but it's just being like more and more provocative, and more being appeared and shown, and you could actually tangibly almost feel it. It would feel like, oh yeah, this is the most, right choice. And sometimes it's hard when we're like maybe at a choice that's very hard or very big to us, and we think like, and we end up putting a lot of, I call them distraction, hindrances, obstacles. We literally just maybe include other people's opinions about it. We might even include everything else that might not appeal to us, just to like not choose that choice that might seem very, very weird. But sometimes that choice is the choice that it's not you should have taken it, but it was the choice that was gonna make you grow more. It was the choice that was gonna make you go to like uncharted dimensions, literally uncharted, like newer experiences, even newer people. But maybe you got scared. We do sometimes when we're being honest with ourselves. We don't want to, well, because we don't want to feel like these unfamiliar emotions to us. But if we start accepting and acknowledging each and every single thing, and it's like, no, I want to feel this, I want to try something new, no, I want to see what it would lead to, you start realizing, I should have done this way before, right? But it's not too late to start doing it. Like, this is why I said this is a consecutive work. This is something that you should do for the rest of your life. Your instinct is just gonna be more loud, a little bit more loud, not very loud, but a little bit more loud. You're gonna be able to see like the choices that are more suitable to you. Doesn't have to be the conventional ways, doesn't have to be even, or actually maybe it might be the opposite. Maybe you have to go the conventional ways to do things, and it might have seemed like the best choice. And really, after you basically train yourself in this, your instinct is just very strong. You might notice a lot of things because you started knowing yourself. You started being very in tune with yourself, with your body, and with because when you're applying to every aspect of your life, you're very in tune with everything in you, inside of you. So you kind of understand when something that you don't very much like materializes in your world. You're like, yes, I know this because this is maybe how I felt. That's why being in tune with yourself is because you're being very honest with yourself. This is just basically the summary. So thank you everyone for listening to one of the capsules, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a comment down below, and like and subscribe, and I'll see you later, and thank you for listening.